It is Thursday for your first dispatch here on War Notes. You hear a lot these days about YOLO Republicans. For those not familiar with the term, YOLO, you only live once. You only live once. Go buy that really expensive sweater. You only live once. Go on that vacation. You only live once. Say something stupid on Twitter, or for the kids, go ahead and date somebody your parents don't like. You only live once. For John Cornyn, Tom Tillis, to a certain extent, Bill Cassidy, you only live once. Trump screwed you, and now it's time to exact revenge. So the media is obsessed with the YOLO Republican caucus. Trump today sort of flipped that on its head and said, F you to, to everybody, and said, fine, you don't want to approve my attorney general, then I'm going to wait until after the midterms when Cassidy and Cornyn and Tillis are gone, and find other senators, other Republican senators, because I think, in the words of Trump, he's going to keep the Senate. It's fascinating to watch the obsession with these men as if they somehow have immense power, because anybody who's opposing Trump, who's a Republican, the media loves to talk about and lionize. Mind you, they used to talk about how terrible Cassidy and Tillis and Cornyn was when they supported Trump, but now that they may be opposing him, they are heroes of the resistance in the revolution. So YOLO Republicans are having their moment. The way Trump handles this is pretty remarkable in his unwillingness to ever be held hostage, because he's willing to pivot and he's willing to fight in a way that Washington is not used to. So every time a group thinks they have him, they don't, which is wild to watch. The Iran war right now is fascinating. Somebody in the very beginning, this guy named Robert Pape, was on once or twice with us. He had this whole theory of the escalation trap, that there would just be this continuing escalation in Iran. There may be something to that. There's a way to get out of that trap that Trump just won't take. And why not is quite curious. Midterms. What's happening in Michigan, we cannot underscore how interesting it is. And Wisconsin to a certain extent. We talked about it a little bit last night, but we need to dive deeper into what's happening in Michigan. The tens of millions of dollars that are being put behind Haley Stevens, just like the tens of millions of dollars that were put behind John Cornyn in Texas to save him from Ken Paxton. It's not working. There's an activist class of voters that it doesn't matter what you say about somebody. Abu al-Sayed is, by all polling, unelectable in Michigan. He is also objectively a horrible human being who parrots terrorist talking points, who is a wild hypocrite on so many things. And yet, this activist class, because he talks about taking money out of politics and Medicare for all, is somehow going to be a nominee for Senate. Fascinating to watch the power of the small activist class in these primary fights. Wild to watch. This sort of pushes us towards how Israel is now becoming such an issue for Democrats in 2028. Going forward. And every one of these Democrats is trying to figure out how to deal with Israel as an issue, especially since South Carolina is now looking like it will be the first in the country primary, which totally changes the primary map for Democrats. They're figuring out in real time how to deal with Israel, at the same time how to deal with socialism, because South Carolina is very different than, say, Iowa or New Hampshire. What I think is the most interesting story today is about Chinese robo-taxis and this push to keep Chinese electric cars and Chinese robot taxis out of America. Shockingly enough, the Chinese are trying to put in robo-buses and robo-taxis around U.S. military bases and offering them free to cities. We'll have Gordon Chang on about this fight and whether or not America will ever stand up to the Chinese Communist Party's attempt to infiltrate America in so many different ways. You can't turn on the TV here in DC without seeing an ad about protecting America from the rolling spy machines of Chinese electric cars. Lastly, there's some really scary video out there we will show you of a rescue robot that carries a chainsaw. It is not who you would want to come see rescuing you. Fascinating day. Again, watching Trump maneuver when especially the media thinks he's cornered by a certain group that they are now lionizing is always a fun show to watch, as is On Balance every night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.